Hi there, welcome back to KSP Interstellar with Oops. I've been doing some mission planning and we need to get into this pretty quickly. I'll explain as we go. We need to upgrade our mission control. That'll give us 7 maximum active contracts and flight planning, which is huge for us. So let's go ahead and upgrade that. I'll show you what flight planning is in a short while. For now, we're going to grab explore Kerbney, so we just need to go on a spacewalk near Kerbney. So that's in orbit. We're going to rescue Hensi from an orbit of Kerbney. And we're also going to ferry a VIP safely to his destinations and back. So he just wants to orbit around Kerbney. Now these all fit in pretty well together on a single mission. I'm also going to grab this this mission right here for later, and I'll go into that once we get to it. But we're going to be concentrating on these 3 for now. And we can actually knock them all out at once. We do have to grab some research first. And the research that we're going to go with is general construction. Because we need this crew cabin to perform our daring rescue of Hensi. We also want to get this advanced construction. It's not super critical right now, but it does give us a couple of neat pieces that we're going to need very quickly. And also flight control, because we want these winglets that can actually move, so we don't have to rely on having a an engine that has the tilt ability. So we can actually control through atmosphere. At least we can actually control our vessel with those guys. So we've got all of our pieces parts, we've got our missions, and let's take a look at the vehicle that I've put together for this mission. And as you can see, there's not an awful lot to it. I kind of don't like the look of it. I think these should have been just regular smaller decouplers, but for safety's sake, I always like having the boosters a little further off, just so that they don't stand a chance of hitting this fuel, the bottom fuel tanks as they're decoupled. Other than that, it's pretty standard. We've got 2 boosters. We've got a main core for the 2nd stage, and 3rd stage we just have this fuel tank right here to take the crew cabin into orbit and perform the rendezvous with the craft that needs to be rescued. So on this mission, I am sending Valentina because she needs to get her prograde retrograde hold. So I'm trying to get her a little bit more experience. And of course our tourist who just wants to go into orbit. So we can pull all of these off. Let's hit launch for now. I believe I've already checked my staging, but we'll check it again. Always a good idea to check staging more than once. So we've got our solid boosters, main core, stages to stage 3 here. And our pod, so everything looks good there. So pretty standard flight profile. We'll turn SAS on and launch upwards. It's a pretty light craft, so we can go straight vertical for a little bit longer. And as we go, So we're at 2,000 feet. So the whole reason for this flight profile, you go up to get out of the thick atmosphere as much as possible before you start turning sideways. Because if you turn sideways when you're in the thick atmosphere, then you're going to be going through it for longer. Oh, okay, so that's that stage done. So what you do is you fly upwards to get out of the thick atmosphere, then you start burning sideways to start gaining that orbital speed that's going to take us into a stable orbit of the planet. Now, one thing I did neglect to check is where the rescue craft is. So we're kind of on the wrong side of the planet for this rescue, which isn't a major deal, but we can fix that. We can fix that. So we've got our tourist on board here. He seems very happy to be shooting up into the sky. He's certainly happier than I would be in that situation. I'm sure I would be quite scared. But here we go. We have faith in the system. Our apoapsis is climbing nicely. And I don't know exactly what orbit he's in. Right now he's at 77,000 77,000 meters. So we'll just push this up until it intersects with his orbit right here, and that looks pretty good. Now we're coming a little bit south of him here, so what I wouldn't mind doing, actually let's leave that like that for now. Now you saw I upgraded the mission control to allow maneuver nodes, and so now we have this option of creating a maneuver node on our path, and what we can do is we can simulate a maneuver. So if we burned prograde at this point, then we can see exactly where we're going to end up, and that looks pretty good. That looks like it's going to do what we need it to do. So the great thing is about this as well is it shows how long that burn is going to take. It's going to take us 24 seconds. Now, a good kind of rule of thumb with these burns is you try and split it between before and after. So we can't make all of this acceleration change at that exact point. So we kind of want to do at 24 seconds, we'll do 12 seconds before we hit the node, and then 12 seconds after, until 12 seconds after we hit the node. And we can see here that that's counting down 28 seconds. So when this hits 12 seconds is when we're going to want to begin this burn, and it should be pretty accurate. So 15, 14, 13, and we'll burn. And I just have to keep this, it's kind of difficult to see right now because it's being hidden by the prograde marker. Oh, there's our first stage gone. That'll mess with the timing a little bit, but not a big deal, because we're just looking to kind of rough this out right now. We just want to get into orbit close to the target rescue craft, and we'll perform the rest of the corrections afterwards. Alright, so we're closing in, and just tiny adjustments to get this down to 0. Oh, 0.1. Perfect. I'm good with that. Alright, so you can see now we're pretty much matching this guy's orbit. Unfortunately, we are almost perfectly opposite him on the planet. So what we're going to do is set him as the target, and that gives us these cool little markers: descending node and ascending node. Essentially what they mean is, if you can see right here, this green line is our target's orbit, and the blue line is our orbit. Now you can see that if we look here, we're currently in after the descending node. So that's where our orbit kind of crosses his, you can see right there. So we're actually descending relative to him. On the ascending node, we can see we're ascending relative to him. So what we need to do to kind of close that gap so we can get as close to him as possible is, at the ascending node, we can add a maneuver, and we can burn anti-normal, which essentially just means south, and you can see our planned trajectory, actually comes more in line with his trajectory. So we'll just kind of eke that out a little bit, kind of correct it, get it as close as possible, and that looks pretty good. So we can see right here, well, it was showing, I think that's just showing because of the adjustments we're making, but our ascending node, we were almost 1 degree off, 0.8 degrees off, which doesn't look like much, but as you can see at the worst point here, it's actually a pretty decent separation. There are countries smaller than that. So we'll time accelerate to our maneuver node, and we can see here it's only going to take 3 seconds, so we don't have to worry too much on the timing of this. So we'll get closer, and let's point towards our blue maneuver marker here, and we'll make that adjustment. And that's close enough. And we can see there we are still 0.1 degrees off, but that's manageable. So we're in orbit approximately at the same height. We've matched his plane of orbit, so we have the same inclination. But we still have this problem of him being on the other side of the planet. Now, we can either, there's two ways of going about this, only one of them is an option right now. We can either speed up to get to him, since we're halfway, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other by the mechanics. We can either speed up to catch up to him, or we can slow down and let him catch up to us. Now, the rule in orbiting to see how we can do that, if you're in a lower orbit, then you will actually be going faster and you can catch up to him. If you're in a higher orbit, then you'll be going slower and he can catch up to us. Of course, we're only just outside of the atmosphere, so we really can't go much lower to catch up to him. It would be a very slow process, but what we can do is actually increase our speed, and what that would do is that would actually fling us further out from the planet, and it would cause us to slow down. Counterintuitively, we speed up here, That's going to cause us to slow down as we come further away from the planet, and then return to our exact same point right here. So if we time things correctly, let's start work on this. We're going to have to pick a slightly better spot, which if we do this quickly and properly, we can actually use this intersect right here. So this shows, alright, so it's a 19-second burn approximately, so we got time right now to talk about this. And we can see right here, these are our positions at the next intersection. So when we get closer, this is the closest we're going to get. And we can see right there, that's a separation of 2.1 kilometers. Let's see if we can bring that in just a little bit. 1.2 kilometers. That looks good. So we're going to speed up. We're going to fling ourselves out further into space, into a higher orbit of Kerbney. That's going to slow us down and allow the target ship to catch up to us so that we'll catch him on the next go around. So let's accelerate to our burn. And oh, I kind of missed out on that. Not a huge deal. Horseshoes and hand grenades and whatnot. So let's perform our planned burn. Almost there, almost there. And we just have to keep our nose on the maneuver node, and that looks pretty good. So after performing that, we have a separation of 1.3 kilometers at our closest point. That's pretty good. So here we go. As you can see here, we're opposite sides, and as we push out, of course, he's going to go around one more time here. As we push out, we slow down. So there's one orbit that he's almost gone around, and then he'll orbit again, and we'll hit him as he hits down here. So here we go. Now, really what I should have done is waited until he was close to us as we were taking off, so we wouldn't have to do this crazy of a maneuver to catch up to him, or let him catch up to us. But here we are. So we're moving in on him. We may even be able to see him right now. Yep, there he is. So right now we're moving at 250 meters per second relative to our target there. We're actually going to encounter him at our closest in about 3 minutes. Okay, so we're pretty close there. Now, usually this green marker is our prograde and retrograde. When we're in target mode, that is our relative velocity. So that's our velocity relative to our target. So if I burn at that, then we're going to match speeds with the target, which is exactly what we've done there. So you could see that he was actually coming in, his distance was being reduced and reduced. It was coming closer and closer, and now we've matched speeds with him. He's pretty much stationary in the sky right there. So what we can do now is we can burn towards him. so we can actually get a few meters per second towards him and time accelerate, and that's going to bring that distance down a little bit more. And let's actually get ourselves set up for when we're ready to cancel that velocity again. So we got into the same, we matched his velocity for safety, then we burned towards him, and now we're going to match his velocity again. And in this way we just kind of safely move in on him, so we don't have to worry about crashing into him, we don't have to worry about going wild and completely missing. We just kind of slowly work our way in towards the target craft. So we burn towards him again, and let's get in a bit closer, accelerate through, and we can start to see the derelict craft come into view. And we match velocities. So he's still moving a little bit, not a big deal. Now it's difficult to see here, but this crew container can hold 2 Kerbals. Right now Valentina is running the command pod, so I need to put her into the container here, and that way we can get our rescuee into the command pod. So there we have Valentina is now sitting in the crew quarters. Let's take a look. There she is. It's actually quite nice. We got a little table here. It's like being on a liner. Okay. So here is Hensi, our rescuee. He needs a little bit of assistance, so we'll EVA him. And there is our rescue ship, along with the moon. So he's out on EVA. And of course, as we're doing this, this fulfills our go on an orbital spacewalk near Kerbney. That fulfills that contract. Of course, we're ferrying the VIP as we're running this rescue mission. He's getting to go into orbit and watching this mission take place. And also, we're rescuing Hensi from what would be a very boring orbit of Kerbney. And if I can just figure out how to get him back on. There we go. Grab and board. Okay, so we've got our 3 Kerbals on board, and we're ready to come back to solid ground, to terra firma. So let's time accelerate through, and we'll try and land somewhat close to the space center. Let's get a little bit closer. I've never been very good at this, so it could work. It may work, it may not. But it'll be alright on the night. Okay, so we've got a little bit of fuel. Let's just go ahead and burn that off as much as we can. Now, we don't want to put our orbit line directly on the space center, because it's actually going to, as the atmosphere catches us, then we're going to of course, lose speed. So while it looks like we'd land somewhere over here, as the atmosphere catches us, it's going to slow us down, and we'll probably land somewhere close to here. So we're just about to hit atmosphere again. 77,000. There we go, 70,000. Okay, so we can now drop our final stage there. And we can time accelerate just a little bit. Now this is a little bit of a troublesome landing, so I am actually going to at least go through the worst of it here. Because we've got this big crew container here that weighs a ton in-game, of course, it weighs a ton, so it's actually, it kind of throws off the balance of our lander here, and it makes for a little bit of an interesting descent as we get further into the atmosphere. So let's wait until we start flaming out, and there it goes. And let's accelerate just a little bit. I'm making sure that I'm pointing retrograde and pointing my butt towards the atmosphere. And we've come in a little bit steep, which was intended. We can see the space center right here. So, yep, it looks like we are going to overshoot the space center. But that's not a major problem. But we're slowing down nicely. We don't have any crazy heating going on. Our heat shield is doing its job. And in we go. In we go. And of course, our last stage already clicked over as we released that last fuel tank and engine. So that should be fine. Oh, and we got the wobbles. This is the interesting bit. We need to make sure that we don't get too, we don't flip out of control. So we're just edging around our retrograde marker, and there we go. The heating is, we've gotten down sufficiently that heating is no longer a problem, and our drogue chute should release any moment. There it goes. And shortly followed by our main chute. I say shortly, there it goes. Alright, I will see you guys on the ground. Okay, and as usual, we're just floating down our last few meters here. We've got everyone on board. We've got three contracts complete. And I don't think we can actually get any science at all from this. I wasn't planning on getting science. I just wanted to get a rendezvous mission out of the way and earn some cash because we're going to need it. So let's go ahead and recover the vessel. And let's see what we got for that. Probably not a whole lot of science. 1.7 science. Crew. Fantastic. Valentina got her advancement to level 1. And our tourist also got advanced to level 1. I'm not sure why we need to advance the tourists, but that's good. Alright, now we got 530,000 bucks to play with, and we can start work on the next mission. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining me, and come back next time. There'll be more Kerbal Space Program Interstellar.